All right, Miami fans, it is that time of the year. The RedHawks are in the MAC Championship game for the third consecutive season. Pumped to have on Joseph Hartzell from the Western Herald. Joseph, it's been a great season for you guys up in Kalamazoo. What's the general feel around campus making it to the MAC Championship game for the first time since 2016?
Yeah, it's a lot of excitement. This pretty quick turnaround for Lance. He was 4-8 his first year, which was the same record as Tim Lester's last year here in Kalamazoo. Went 6-6 last year. Kind of had a little bit of a similar flow to the season where struggled in non-conference early against a tough schedule. Come in, win a bunch of games against the bottom of the MAC early in the season, and then struggle against the top teams to close the year out. And this year, kind of flipped the script on that, and had a lot of success early, but down the stretch, we're able to win a couple of really big games. That game over Ohio really stands out to me. The Central game, both massive wins, kind of really gritty, grind them out type games that this team I felt like would have lost. Like last year's team, I think would have lost both of those games, and this year's team found a way to win both. So that's just been really impressive. And this team started 0-3, and albeit against probably the toughest schedule of anyone in the MAC, going to Michigan State, playing North Texas at home, and then going to Illinois. I mean, that's just a brutal opening start to the season, and they rebounded very, very well. Like, were able to pick up that win at home against Toledo to avoid going 0-4, and then just parlayed that into a really, really special second half of the season.
It seems to me that Toledo game and the fourth quarter in particular, coming back down 13 to nothing was the real like turning point in this season. Is that the general vibe that you get as well?
A little bit. I think that was the moment where it was kind of like this team had a chance to just not get back off the mat. I mean, they were knocked down, knocked down, knocked down, and kept getting back up. And it was also kind of the moment that really solidified Brock Lowry's kind of job. I mean, it was a real quarterback competition through uh, the first few games between Brock and Brady Jones, the transfer from Riverside, in which Brady Jones started the first game of the year. Like he
Mhm.
was the original starting quarterback, and Brock was able to beat him out and ended up being MAC Offensive Player of the Year, which was just named today. And so that was really the game that it came through, and it was like, all right, this is the guy, this is who we're going to be focused on moving forward. And we think we've got a shot to be, a real threat in the MAC, especially I think we all knew, at least here at Western, how good North Texas was coming into this season. And then that coming out of that game, like, wow, that team was incredible. That quarterback, Drew Mestamaker, was just, I mean, he was fantastic that Western game. I don't know if you've seen a lot of the footage, but like there's several plays from that game where he's making incredible throws. And this team was able to kind of keep its head on its shoulders and really bounce back very nicely.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say good loss, but that it certainly aged very well for you guys. I think that was the least amount of points given up to North Texas this season. I mean, that's a team that's obviously a game away from making the college football playoffs. So it's certainly something to be very, very proud of and not, hang your head on it too much if you're a Western Michigan fan. Defense has showed up all year for you guys.
Yeah, that's kind of where it starts, this team. They play very complimentary football. It's a team that, I mean, I'm sure you can look at the box score and see how much they want to run the football. That NIU game stands out. We threw like 9 passes and, ran the ball 50 something times. But it all starts because this defense is able to win, and not just win, but like suffocate you. Held a really, really, really good Miami team, or not Miami team, Ohio team to just 13 points. Chase Hendricks and Parker Navarro, one of the better quarterback wide receiver duos in the entire country, really had no success, was not able to get anything going in that game. Ohio actually had more success on the ground. And honestly, Ohio's most successful offense in that game was Parker Navarro escaping pass rush. I think that's kind of been the one knock on this defense is they've struggled at times to stop mobile athletic quarterbacks. I think you guys saw that earlier this year when DeQuan Finn was still with this roster, and I think it's gonna be a new challenge for this defense, seeing a guy that can throw the football as well as the new quarterback. I'm blanking on his name. I apologize, but yeah, and so I think this defense is just it all starts there, and it starts up front with the defensive line. This is one of the best defensive lines in the entire country. They're among the top of the country in sack percentage, pressure rate, sacks in general. Pretty much any pass rush stat you can think of. This defensive line is among the top in the country, and they are able to get a lot of pressure without having to bring extra defenders, which really helps out a veteran secondary.
Yeah, you mentioned the other game between Western and Miami. That was back in week 9. A very competitive game. Obviously, 17 unanswered from the RedHawks to win that one 26 to 17. Obviously, from our side, we've had a ton of changes since that game, so I don't really know how much you can take away from it necessarily. But from the Western Michigan side, what have been some of the biggest changes in that team since that game?
Yeah, I mean, I think this team has just really leaned on the running game. Jalen Buckley had been dealing with some injuries all year, and for the last couple of weeks, it's really been the first time all year he's been fully healthy. It feels like, and he's had started to have some success. And I think this offensive line has just it's only gotten stronger as we've gone through MAC play. They've been able to take over games down the stretch. They took over the Eastern Michigan game. They took over the Northern Illinois game. They took over the Ohio game. The offensive line has really started to move people, and between that and Brock Lowry really just kind of settling in even more to this offense, it's become an offense that can match the caliber of the defense, and that's a really, really, really terrifying sight, I think.
And then obviously from the defensive standpoint, has there been any talk of like the adjustment going from Daquan Finn to the younger quarterback and Thomas Gostkowski, who's been very, very good so far, but definitely going up against the best defense he has faced so far. I mean, no offense to Buffalo and Ball State, but it really seems like you guys are a much different animal. Has there been any talk within the coaching staff that you've seen among like how they're going to adjust differently against a new quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's going to be different because they're vastly different styles of quarterback. Like Finn is one of those guys who's every bit as dangerous with his legs as he is his arm, and sometimes he's even more dangerous with his feet. And so I think that a guy like oh, I can't, I'm blanking on his name again.
Gostkowski, you're good.
Gotkowski. All right, yes, Gotkowski. He's just he's a better thrower of the football, I think, and it's going to be a much more traditional quarterback feel. I think this is where you kind of see the pass rush if you really want like that's what you're looking for is the pass rush to get after him and kind of help this secondary out, make it so they don't have to cover for 5, 6 seconds downfield because Gotkowski has shown the ability to really hurt you with his arm, and I think that's the one place you can get Western Michigan's defense is if you're able to hold up against the pass rush, you can kind of work against the secondary down deep downfield. Now they've had moments and that being the weak point on a defense as good as this is means it's really not that much of a weak point. It's more so it's just not the strongest kind of option that Western has, but it's kind of a new challenging threat, and I think that Gotkowski has an arm that's capable of beating anybody in the MAC.
Yeah. Do you have any like other X factors or players to watch besides the obvious for you guys? Like who would really need to step up for Western Michigan to get the win on Saturday?
Yeah, I think, especially with the game being in a dome and not in Ford Field and not outside, I think it's going to be naturally a little bit higher scoring than what we've seen down the stretch, especially with the weather that we've seen. I don't know how it's been for you guys down in Ohio, but up in Kalamazoo, it's been freezing since Maction started. So we've played three very, very cold and somewhat snowy games up here in Kalamazoo and in Northern Illinois and Eastern Michigan, but I think we're going to need to get the passing game going a little bit more if you're Western Michigan. I think you're looking to connect downfield on maybe not a ton of throws, but at least a couple early to at least make the Miami defense kind of respect this offense. And with that, I think you kind of have two guys who are the main X factors. I think Talik Williams and Avion Chenault, one of those two needs to kind of step up early. And if one of those two can establish themselves as a threat downfield, I think then you see Western's run game really start to get going. And that's kind of where they're at their best when they're able to play off that pass game and really establish the run. And then that really establishes the threat of the play action pass, which makes this just a really tough offense to combat against as a defense. But when the passing game isn't going, I think this offense is gettable. And so it's going to be up to the wide receivers early to create some separation and give Brock Lowry a couple easy throws and really get him in rhythm.
Yeah, I remember, I think it was back-to-back plays in the second quarter of the regular season game. Chenault had a deep bomb and Williams had a long touchdown. I think it was like right before halftime. It kind of brought you guys back into the game. So the big play threat is certainly there in the passing game. I guess just big picture for the Western Michigan program, Joseph. You mentioned the clean sweep for you guys today. Tucker winning Defensive Player of the Year, as well as MAC MVP, Lowry Offensive Player of the Year, and Taylor Coach of the Year. It's obviously a great season so far, but what do you think a win on Saturday would mean, not just for the season, but for the Bronco program in general?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of the next step for Lance is kind of establishing himself in this program as one of the top coaches and one of the top teams in this conference and kind of here to stay and not just a team that won a couple close games in the regular season and found themselves in the MAC championship, but a team truly at the top of the MAC that belongs with the Miamis, the Ohios, the Toledos of the conference, and someone that a team that can compete nationally, especially at the group of five level. Like, I think you see Tucker as a transfer and he's a 1 year guy and he's going to be gone after this year. I think he's an NFL guy. I've seen some day
Agree.
two buzz. I've seen early as second round for him at this point. Um, but Lowry's a sophomore. Like that's a guy you can bring back for at least one, if not two more. I mean, most likely 2 more years. And that's a guy that I think at the top of the MAC programs retain guys like that. Like Brock Lowry comes back to top program the MAC. And I think a win against Miami just, that gets you to a 9-win season and a potential 10-win season with a bowl win, which is just huge for program momentum. I think had a pretty good signing day, signed some pretty intriguing prospects, some pretty good high school kids. And I think going into portal season as a 10-win program saying, hey, we could turn you into an NFL guy here. I mean, Nadeem Tucker was not on NFL radars coming into this year. He transferred down from Houston, and now this year he's going to be drafted. He's going to hear his name called. And so I think being able to establish that is like you can come here, we'll develop you into an NFL guy if you've got that caliber of talent in you. And not only that, but we're going to win a lot of football games. That's a really great kind of recruiting pitch. And I think being able to just add that MAC championship, say we're one of the best programs in the MAC is a big thing.
Yeah, and you could certainly see the progression with Lance Taylor now in year three, obviously making it to the MAC championship game. Seems like the program keeps getting better and better. Any final thoughts before we sign off here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited. I'm glad that we got Miami in the MAC championship. Miami being the one team we weren't able to beat this year. It's you guys are a really good program in Oxford, and Chuck Martin's a great head coach, and I think I've got a lot of respect for what Miami's done over the last few years, and they're one of the best programs in the MAC. And I think I'm as much as I would love to play Ohio or Toledo again, even though we beat them. I'm glad the tiebreaker kind of worked out for us to get a second shot at you guys, and I think it's gonna be a great MAC championship game. And yeah, I mean, I'm really excited to be there, be in Ford Field for the first time, and it'll be a program that's been there, done that before versus a program that's kind of on the come up. So it's a great matchup in my opinion.
Yeah, it should be very competitive. The respect is very mutual between us two. Certainly get that. All right, shout yourself out. Where could we find you at?
Yeah, I'm over at westernherald.com and on Western Herald social media as well as just on Twitter under my own name. So I cover pretty much every Western sport, not just football, even though I have focused on football a lot this fall. Miami, I'm sure you guys are familiar. I cover a lot of Western Michigan hockey, so we've already had our 2 game series in Kalamazoo. Looking forward to kind of rendition 2.0 of that in Oxford. And you guys are ranked for the
Yeah.
first time this season, I believe, in the national poll. So excitement building in Oxford. You guys have a good squad there. And yeah, so that's where you can find my work at for Western Herald.
All right. Thank you, man. We'll see you on Saturday.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.